Practice 11.
Hi, Josh. What are you doing?
Oh, I'm just looking in this catalog for a costume to wear to Ashley's birthday party. Have you already decided what you are going to wear?
Yeah, I have this great costume my sister wore 2 years ago. I'm going to go as a sumo wrestler.
Oh yeah, I saw a picture of that costume here. Look, there it is. I really like that one. It's one of the funniest ones I've seen.
Yeah, and it's more comfortable than dressing up like a monster or a princess. So, which costume have you decided on?
Well, I like the zombie. I think it's the scariest one I've seen.
Yes, that is scary. But what about this one? I think Freddy Krueger is scarier than a zombie.
I don't know. The costume is one of the ugliest, but I think I like the zombie more. Look at this one. That is the dumbest costume I've ever seen. Who would want to dress up like a Christmas tree?
Yeah, look at this costume. This is the least imaginative costume I've ever seen. I suppose that if you can't think of anything else, you can put a white sheet over your head and say you're a ghost. But to me, it's one of the worst costumes. No imagination.
Hey, look at this one. It's kind of cool.
What is it supposed to be?
A knife, one of those Swiss Army knives with all the gadgets. Knife, pliers, corkscrew, scissors, bottle opener.
Yeah, I get it. It is pretty funny, but it looks uncomfortable.
Yeah, maybe. How about this one? I could go as Mr. Burns from The Simpsons.
Well, he is the most disagreeable character on TV. Yeah, that might be a good option. But it's one of the most expensive costumes they have. How much did you want to spend?
Not that much. How about this one?
What is it?
The Headless Horseman. It's one of the best I've seen. I think that's the one I'm going to get.
I agree. It's not the scariest, but it's different, and it's also one of the cheapest.
Unit 4. Practice 3.
Hi, Miss Daniels. I'm Robert Flores. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Please take a seat.
Thank you.
All right, then. Let's begin. Tell me, how long have you been a French teacher?
Well, I've taught French since I graduated from college, so it's been 6 years.
And have you ever lived in France?
Actually, I spent my last year in college there. I studied at the University of Paris and gave private English classes while I was there.
I see you are currently working at City College. Have you always worked there?
No. When I finished college, I worked for the government for 2 years. I gave French classes to government employees that were going to live in France.
That's interesting. Have you had any experience teaching children?
Some. Most of my experience has been with adults, but for the last 2 summers, I've helped out at a youth center near my home. I've taught French to the kids there, and I've really enjoyed that.
Well, I don't have any more questions for you, Ms. Daniels. Is there anything you'd like to ask me?
I only have one question. If I am hired, how soon would I have to be available? You see, I'm currently working, and I want to finish the school year if possible.
This job is for the next school year, so you won't have a problem. You can finish the school year, and you'd even have time for a vacation.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we'll be in touch.
CD Practice 7. Part 1.
I've been working many hours today, 26 hours to be exact. I've been talking to and helping sick people, and I haven't slept very much. I've had 8 cups of coffee, but I haven't had time to eat much, only a sandwich. I've been operating on a patient for the last 2 hours because he was in a bad accident.
I've been traveling a lot these last few weeks. I've been to Vancouver, New York, Atlanta, Boston, and Denver. I've stayed in a lot of hotels, and I've eaten in many restaurants. I've been visiting many companies, and I've talked to many company directors. I'm very happy because I've sold $300,000 worth of equipment this month.
I've been working at my computer a lot on a huge project. I've been talking to the engineers and have been calling the construction company. I've been checking the construction, and I've had to make a few changes in the design of the building.
I've been interviewing the president, and I've talked to some senators this week. I've written many stories for my publisher, and have won a prize for an article I wrote about family violence. I've travelled all over the world, and have visited some very dangerous places in order to get a good story.
I've been traveling a lot and have been staying at a lot of different hotels. I've been to a lot of parties, but I can't eat when I go out. I have to watch my weight. I visited Athens, Paris, Rome, London, and Milan this year. I've been in many shows. I've worn some very strange clothing. I've been photographed a lot, and my picture has been in many magazines.
In Class Activity 2. Speaker 1.
So, Mr. Allen, what seems to be the trouble?
Well, I've been having trouble walking. My ankle has been swollen and it's really sore.
Okay, let's take a look. You're right, it's very swollen. How long has it been like this?
I don't know. For a couple of days, maybe.
Have you been doing any strenuous exercise lately?
Yes, I played basketball last Sunday, but I've been playing basketball for years and I've never had any problems.
Well, I suspect that you've sprained your ankle.
Really? But I don't remember hurting it.
It's probably just a very minor injury, but it's not going to get better by itself.
What can I do?
I'm going to give you a prescription for some anti-inflammatory drugs. Try not to put pressure on the ankle for a few days. You can also put ice on it if you want. Oh, and no more basketball until it heals.
Thanks, Doctor.
Speaker 2.
Good morning, Mrs. Butler. What can I do for you today?
I've been feeling awful for the last 3 days.
All right. Tell me what's been going on.
Well, I've been throwing up several times a day. My stomach really hurts, and I've had a terrible headache for about a week.
Have you been running a fever?
Well, I have felt hot, and I've been really run down.
Let's take your temperature. Have you been eating anything?
Not really. As I said, I've been throwing up so much that I don't really have any appetite.
Okay, let's see. It's as I suspected. You have a fever. What you have is most likely a stomach infection.
A stomach infection? Is that serious?
It can be. You need to take antibiotics. Also, make sure to drink lots of liquids because you're also a little dehydrated. I'm sure you'll start feeling better in a couple of days.
Thanks, Doctor.
Speaker 3.
Hello, Mr. Coleman. What seems to be the matter with you?
I don't know, Doc. I can't move my hands.
How long has this been going on?
A couple of days. Can you take a look?
Okay. Does it hurt when I do this?
Ouch! Yes.
Have you been doing anything out of the ordinary with your hands?
Not really. I've been working a lot, but it's not really physical work.
What do you do?
I'm a computer programmer.
I see. Have you been typing a lot recently?
As a matter of fact, I have. Why?
From what I can see, you're suffering from carpal tunnel syndrome. It can happen from repetitive motions, like typing.
But what can I do? I have to use a keyboard in my job.
I'm going to give you some anti-inflammatory medicine. Try not to use your hands for a couple of days. Oh, and I also suggest that you get a new keyboard with a more ergonomic design.
Speaker 4.
And what's been going on with you, Mrs. Davis?
I don't know. I've been sneezing and coughing for more than a week. My nose has been running, and my eyes have been red and sore.
Let's take a look. Have you been sleeping well?
No, I haven't been sleeping at all, and I've been feeling really run down.
Have you felt this way before?
Yes, when I've had a cold, but this is a little different. I've never had symptoms exactly like these before.
Okay, I think I know what's going on here. It appears that you have an allergy.
An allergy?
Yes, there's been a lot of pollen in the air recently. A lot of people have been complaining about the same thing.
Is that why I've been feeling so miserable?
I suspect so. I'm going to prescribe some antihistamines. They will probably make you sleepy, so don't drive while you're taking them.
Thanks.
CD Practice 11. Dialogue 1.
Hello, I'm doing a survey on housing. I want to know if you can answer a few questions for me.
Sure.
Do you own the place you live in, or do you rent it?
I rent.
Do you plan to buy your own home in the future?
Yes.
What kind of place do you plan to buy, a house or a condominium?
I've always wanted a house in the country.
Which of these would best describe the place where you currently live? A house, an apartment, a condominium, or other?
It's an apartment.
Do you live alone, live with a friend, live with a spouse, with your parents, with relatives, or other?
With a friend. Actually, 2 friends.
How long have you lived where you currently reside?
Let me see. It's been about 8 months now.
Where did you live before that?
I was living with my parents.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Dialogue 2.
Hello, I'm doing a survey on housing. I want to know if you can answer a few questions for me.
Will it take long?
No, just a couple of minutes.
Okay then.
Do you own the place you live in, or do you rent it?
I own it. Actually, my husband and I own it.
Do you plan to buy another home in the future?
We are going to want a bigger house in the future.
What kind of place do you plan to buy? A house or a condominium?
Definitely a house with a large yard and lots of trees.
Which of these would best describe the place where you currently live? A house, an apartment, a condominium, or other?
A house.
Do you live alone, live with a friend, live with a spouse, with your parents, with relatives, or other?
With my husband.
How long have you lived where you currently reside?
We've been in this house for 3 years.
Where did you live before that?
I lived in an apartment before I got married.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Dialogue 3.
Hello, I'm doing a survey on housing. I want to know if you can answer a few questions for me.
Well, okay.
Do you own the place you live in, or do you rent it?
I'm renting.
Do you plan to buy your own home in the future?
No, I don't think so. I prefer to rent.
Which of these would best describe the place where you currently live? A house, an apartment, a condominium, or other?
Well, actually, it's a room. I rent a room from a nice old lady.
Do you live alone, live with a friend, live with a spouse, with your parents, with relatives, or other?
I suppose you can say I live alone. I don't share my room with anyone.
How long have you lived where you currently reside?
I've been living there for 6 months.
Where did you live before that?
I used to live in an apartment with some friends.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Dialogue 4.
Hello, I'm doing a survey on housing. I want to know if you can answer a few questions for me.
I guess so.
Do you own the place you live in, or do you rent it?
Neither. I live with some relatives.
Do you plan to buy your own home in the future?
I suppose I will, when I get married.
What kind of place do you plan to buy? A house or a condominium?
I'll probably buy a condominium.
Which of these would best describe the place where you currently live? A house, an apartment, a condominium, or other?
It's a house.
Do you live alone, live with a friend, live with a spouse, with your parents, with relatives, or other?
With relatives, my aunt and uncle.
How long have you lived where you currently reside?
Well, I've been living with them since I was 18, so that's 5 years.
Where did you live before that?
I was living with my parents.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Hola, buen día. Primero que nada, gracias por estar viendo este video, por tu tiempo, esta video presentación. Mi nombre es Isaac Badillo, asesor financiero con 10 años de carrera bancaria. Actualmente me especializo en el área de divisas, tipo de cambio, ofreciendo lo que son estrategias, herramientas y servicios para optimizar esos ejercicios, esas operaciones. ¿Cómo? Con posturas órdenes en mercado, un sistema que se queda trabajando 5 días de la semana, los 24 horas que el mercado está activo. Análisis técnico, básicamente la verificación de gráfico para sacar tendencias, soportes y resistencias, ver probabilidades y pronósticos. Y administración de riesgos para administrar lo que es a un lapso de tiempo, proteger la tesorería de la empresa por la volatilidad de precios. Mi nombre es Isaac Badillo, gracias por mirar este video. Saludos.